It's one of my favorite stories, but I think because it happens to all of us. It sort of happened to me. You have a successful long career and you get to a spot where you're like, what's next? What's next? And you either take it or you stay. That's purpose under pressure. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Doug Whittington of Sandler by the Ruby Group, next on Purpose Under Pressure. The heat is on. Let's get cooking. This is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about people just like you and me. We're on purpose. We have a reason for doing what we do. We're lying in bed. We swing our feet out of bed. We put them on the floor and we get going. Well, then things happen, don't they? Struggles come on, storms rise, pressures happen. They try to knock us off our path. We won't let it happen, and that's what this show is all about. It's Purpose Under Pressure. If you like this show, if you're back for more, do us a favor and either subscribe or like it or tell a friend. We do appreciate it. It's how people know that this show is worth listening to. A couple of thumbs up from you make all the difference that someone else might listen, and maybe their perspective on business changes a little bit. And that's what we're all about. So if you don't mind doing that, I greatly appreciate your support. Purpose Under Pressure is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group, serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron and Columbus, Ohio, also Jacksonville, Florida locations. They do sales training. They do business modeling and help and organization, structural changes. They really help your business. If revenue is a key indicator, if customer service and satisfaction and repeat sales is a key indicator of success for your business, that's where Sandler by the Ruby Group comes in. And they don't just train you specific things to do. They teach you why. They teach you how. They teach you why it matters. And I think that's the purpose part that resonates with everyone there at Sandler by the Ruby Group. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, and I promise you just a phone call and a quick conversation, if you do nothing else, that'll be worth it. It'll be one of the greatest conversations you've ever had, because you'll be talking with some sales professionals that have done it for a long time. And so I encourage you to do that. You can check them out online at therubygroup.sandler.com. And speaking of the Ruby Group, my guest today is Doug Whittington. He is a partner at Sandler by the Ruby Group and doing very well there, I am told. He has also had a very successful, nearly 36-year career with Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, including a stint as the Director of Commercial Sales for North America. Doug Whittington, welcome to Purpose Under Pressure.
Thank you, Bryan. Appreciate the invitation to join today's call, and also the nice summary of Sandler here at the Ruby Group. It was a nice introduction. Thank you.
You and I have never met, Doug, but I've been trained by the Ruby Group, by Mike Jones and Ken Guess and Jordan and the whole team, and they've stuck. That stuff sticks with me because it's so relevant and purposeful. It's not just sales training out of a book. It's really what matters, and how and it even helps. You might even talk about this a little bit. I don't know, but it helps you in your life. Like, absolutely. I might be this much better of a husband and maybe that much better of a dad because of things that I've learned through the Ruby Group. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. That couldn't be more true. And quite frankly, Bryan, I found that as a client of Sandler Training in my former career as a director of sales, led my sales team to Sandler Training as a way to be more effective in that business to business sales environment. We worked in customer relationships and sales to our dealers who sold our products and tires and services into the marketplace, as well as the fleet customers that were the ultimate end users of those products and services. So we found it very helpful to have a sales process that we could train to, that we could hold accountable to, and that we knew was successful. And it's not gimmicky or sales techniquey, but it's really around trying to be that trusted advisor for those clients, those customers that deal with us, to be more successful in their business. And we found, just like you said, that translated beyond just our business world and the business that we were doing every day, but then also in our personal lives and how we communicate and the priorities that we find with our families, our friends, and those things that are important in our life. So,
Yeah.
Appreciate you recognizing that.
Yeah, it's really down deep, and maybe that's the first question I ask you is that I
Mhm.
know you've been, at least I'm being told, that you're doing really well at
Yeah.
Sandler by the Ruby Group, and things are clicking, and that's what you want. What do you
Mhm.
base that success on? What is it about? And you talked about it a little bit, but
Yeah.
take me deeper. Why are things going so well for you and for the Ruby Group right now?
Well, that's a nice compliment. I will tell you that I had found success, as I mentioned, in that sales role, in the actual application as a Sandler user. I saw the value in the sales training and the methodologies that we were teaching. So I was a believer in it, I guess, to start with. It's a little different when you're standing on this side of the camera or this in the front of the classroom versus being in the classroom, right? So there's a lot of work that goes into being successful in this role, not just knowing the material, having experience with the material, but then also being able to really communicate and be effective in this role as a counselor, uh, trainer, business consultant, if you will.
Hmm.
There's more that goes into that. Luckily for me, I joined the Ruby Group here in Fair Lawn, Ohio. I'm surrounded by a high performance team of professional skilled trainers, educators, business counselors. So I've learned a tremendous amount from this team that I joined. And
Hmm.
so they've been more than willing to help me get up to speed and spend time with me to be more effective. And so that has helped me and had a really good track to run on as far as getting up to speed in my onboarding plan and taking my life experiences as a client now marrying those with the facilitation skills and the material skills, and that really has maybe sped up my success in this role.
Hmm. Hmm.
The other thing is in this role, we practice what we preach. We're salespeople
That's right.
at heart. In order to be effective in this role, you have to go out and create business opportunities with folks that can use this sales training, sales leadership development, use it in their businesses to be more effective. And again, a benefit to me was the career that I had, the business relationships that I had over time that gave me an entry into knowing those businesses, having those relationships, probably having some credibility around the win-win solutions that we always were able to come up with, and so
Hmm.
some of those early wins for me really came from those folks that I had business relationships with in the past. So fortunate to join this team and have the support that I have in this team, and then really fortunate to have the career that I had working with businesses and that are really good clients for the materials that we teach and train.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that career because I think that's important to understand
Mhm.
how you kind of rose up through the ranks and now doing what you do. And I don't want to make this a commercial for the Ruby Group and the Sandler, but I'm
Yeah.
interested in this because I think it pertains to you specifically. What
Mhm.
part of the Sandler process impacted you most at Goodyear that made you say, okay, this is going to change the world, and that maybe even
Yeah.
impacts you now? I think for me, I have always gone back to the pain funnel and then the upfront
Mhm.
contract and some of
Yeah.
those things. There's also the IR theory, which I never perfectly
Yeah.
understood. Every once in a while, I got
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
There's so many different concepts,
Yeah.
perspectives.
Yeah.
Which one really resonated with you and still does? Do you think?
Great question. And it really, I have to say, it's having that questioning mindset. When you go in as a salesperson, and we all have that stereotypical salesperson in our mind, right? Just the plaid sport coat, it slices, it dices. Oh, what? Wait, there's more, right? That salesperson, that stereotypical
Yeah.
salesperson that it potentially has a negative connotation. And really, the thing that I liked most about Sandler, it wasn't that. It wasn't that
Mhm.
gimmicky sales closing techniques and that. It was really understanding your clients, understanding their business to be that trusted advisor, if you will. And I'll share the story that led me to this. In a point in our fleet sales world at Goodyear, we had been very focused on product selling in product, selling in products, and we realized that the way to really have beneficial, trusted advisor relationships, if you will, with those fleet customers was to have a portfolio of solutions where we could be a network provider for them over the road, that we could handle not only their tire needs, but also their service needs, and make sure that the products that they invested in, that they bought from us, lasted longer through good maintenance techniques. We called it Fleet HQ. It was a solutions portfolio beyond just tires. It was a portfolio of solutions that we introduced to the marketplace. And at that time, I had a vice president that I was reporting to, and he says, "Well, Doug, how do we know our sales team is ready to deliver this portfolio? How do we know they can be successful in this?" And quite frankly, it was a hard question for me to answer. It's like, because they're good, because gosh, they have really good relationships with customers, and I really couldn't answer it effectively. And that put me in the mindset of, let me see what's out there. Well, how can I know that we are selling the right way? And doing that research and looking at the solutions that were out in the marketplace led me to Sandler, and understanding that one of the core principles in that is understanding that customer again. Why do they need, or how could they benefit from these solutions, and is it a good fit? And sometimes maybe we're not the best fit, and being able to say that, but then understanding how this portfolio of solutions could benefit that fleet, and then communicating it in the right way. So oftentimes we would show up and we'd go through the laundry list of all these wonderful solutions we have, not knowing if they're really a good fit for the client. And so at the end of the day, if we can go in with this questioning mindset, this let me understand better, then we can be more successful.
Yeah. It's I'll share you this story. No, I'll share this story. I think everybody deals with this all the time. Salespeople come up and tell them how their product will change everything for them. I get 3 or 4 different emails a day. Every one of them is almost the same, and they're all stranger email type things. And they say, "I'm confident that I can generate thousands of leads for you."
Right.
Holy cow, you'd sink me. What do I want with thousands of leads? You know, and it's so funny because I'm trained through Sandler to know that that's not the way you ask. Could you use a few more leads? Yeah. Well, maybe now we talk.
Right. Is this something that even interests you? Is this something that you would feel like is a benefit to your business, to your product, to your what you're doing? And let's have that conversation first before we get into the pitch of all that comes with our benefits and feature presentation.
And so since this is purpose under pressure, I can tell your purpose. I can tell, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I can tell you want to do things the right way. You really want to help people. I think most salespeople who are worth their salt do. You really want to make things better for people on the other end. And I know you've had a long career. I wonder if you can share with me a little bit about how purpose led you through your time at Goodyear, but also even how it led you to switch from a successful career of 36 years to a very demanding and tough road to hoe as a new partner at Sandler by the Ruby Group. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll tell you that kind of where there's a piece in there that's the purpose, and when you figure that out, it can be so impactful. And I like most Fortune 500 companies that have quarterly earnings reports that they're responsible for, have stockholders and financial the community that we have to answer to. And it's not unique to Goodyear, but certainly to corporately held companies. That number becomes so important. Hitting the number, making sure you hit your revenue goals and your sales goals and your market share goals, and communicating what those are going to be, and then delivering on those communications can be all encompassing sometimes in trying to get to that. And sometimes that focus on the number can be more important than the things that we should be doing every day to deliver those numbers. We get focused sometimes on the wrong thing, and it's not unique to Goodyear. Goodyear's a wonderful company, but that pressure sometimes of focusing on the end results can get in the way of us focusing on the stuff that we should do every day to
that we can
deliver
control
those results that we can control. And as I step back, when you live in it, when you're the sales director and you feel like you're you're responsible. You
Yeah.
are the hog at breakfast. You're not the chicken, as they used to
Yeah.
say. You're responsible to deliver. You can understand how that can be a tremendous amount of pressure
Yeah.
in order
Yeah.
to deliver. And it becomes like, okay, this is the most important thing we have to do. We have to do. And then when you step back from it, if I step back from it now, with the benefit of retiring from that company and doing something different now, when you step back from it, it's so much easier to see, gosh, what was important
Hmm.
were the people that you dealt with, the people that like just say internally, the associates that you hired, that you mentored, that you trained, that you held accountable to be successful. That was what was important. That
Yeah.
those things were what was most important, and that was the purpose versus the fire drill of the or the emergency that we get in and trying to deliver a number.
So what
So,
what do you do though? Because
mhm.
corporates, I worked for two
Yeah.
companies that started small and grew,
Hmm.
and great, wonderful growth. But there
Yeah.
comes a point where the corporate level wants those numbers
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
return, and sometimes if you're built the way I was and maybe the way you are, some of those things aren't that important
Yeah.
anymore, or maybe
Yeah.
never were. How do you how do you stick? How do you stick
Yeah.
close to your purpose and take care of the right things, but still take
Mhm.
care of that number?
Yeah. Yeah, that the number is important, right? It's not you have to deliver that. It's really focusing on the right things to deliver the number versus the number. Sometimes
Yeah.
we would get to the end of the quarter, how much did you do? How much did you sell? What were the results? When we should have been saying, what did we do every day? How many calls did we make? How many presentations? How many customers did we meet with? Those are the things that were more important every
Mhm.
day
Mhm.
versus the end results. And as I mentioned, as I look back, it came very clear to me that really what was important was those the focus on those relationships and those um, leading indicators, if you will, to be successful versus just focusing on the end results. I I see that very clearly now, and I think it kind of goes back to your initial question. What if if I am successful in this, and I feel
Mhm.
like I've had some early success, and
Mhm.
appreciate you recognizing that. But if it is, it's like it's the benefit of seeing that and how important that is now, because that's what we
Yeah.
train, that's
Yeah.
what we teach, is the behaviors, those daily behaviors, weekly, monthly behaviors that become so critical in our success and where our attitude is, our head, the behaviors that we do every day that make us more successful and really drive our techniques as well.
Yeah, so you're able to actually
Yeah,
use the things that you learned then,
yeah,
that you've learned from leaving, in
yeah.
in this second chance, if you will, to kind of let's
Yeah.
practice it this way and see what happens. I'm interested, if you had a chance to do it over,
Hmm.
knowing what you know now, do you
Yeah.
think you'd have been able to make a difference in that corporate world, or do you think you'd have been beating your head against the wall?
No, I think I have to say, I think there's nobody that can disagree with that. There's smart people in companies and leadership, and while we all get focused on the end numbers, if you can step back from fighting the fire or chopping down the forest in some cases and focus on, okay, what's really important, then people get it, right? It's just that
Hmm.
it's a longer term view, and sometimes we have a hard time getting out of our short term focus, but it is a longer term view. And then at the end of the day, the people that are in that, the people that are actually doing the behaviors, the sales team that we're working with, that we're trying to be successful with, they're more successful and they're more
Yeah.
more motivated, and hopefully it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that ends up being much more successful long term than trying to do something short term, something unnatural to
That's right.
spike some kind of short term
Yeah,
results.
just trying to run a game or something like that,
Yeah,
just to try to move the numbers.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm interested in this, and maybe this talks a little bit about pressure on both angles. You've
yeah.
done the corporate world where
Mhm,
you are doing your thing and making it work. Yeah, you're in a little more of an entrepreneurial
mhm, mhm,
leadership role.
mhm.
What are the two different pressures? What kind of pressures did you have to kind of overcome in your role there at Goodyear, that you were able to, that changed you in some way, or that
Okay.
that made you stand stronger? And also, let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial pressures. I'm interested then in what's
Sure.
going on now that are causing some
Yeah,
struggles.
I'll say it without sounding negative. There was a point in my career at Goodyear. I had a successful run as the director of sales, and then went on to be director of customer relations. And in large part, probably because of that, the successful business relations that I had created with some of our key customers, fleets, and dealers alike. And I'm proud of those relationships that we had, and they weren't just we were just friends, right? There was okay. We found win-win business opportunities and worked together, and they, in many cases, invested a lot into our brands and our products to represent them in the marketplace, and we in turn, we as in Goodyear, invested an awful lot in their businesses to help them be more successful along the way. And I found there was a period of time, a period of leadership there where those relationships weren't on the forefront. They
Hmm.
weren't quite as important potentially as a focus on um, those evolving customer bases out there. That okay, do we focus on those those relationships of those dealers that really helped us make us successful, or is the business evolving out there into mass merchandisers,
Right.
large distributors, company-owned facilities where we tended to focus on more. And I saw there's a divide between the focus on what I felt like really had made us who we were and made us successful,
Hmm.
and where we're heading, and those relationships were potentially atrophying at the cost of losing share with many of those customers. And I'm found myself kind of in a position in between those.
And when you're in between, does that
Yeah,
mean you're stuck? I'm interested in how that was making you feel
yeah.
at the time, and where every morning must have been kind of tough, knowing that I'm not on the right path here.
Everyone in the organization needs to know how to sell. Sales is the strength of any company. Whether or not you're in marketing, operations, or even finance, everyone has a strong shared accountability towards driving top-line revenue. Whether or not you're client-facing or talking over the phone, you're able to build a stronger level of rapport with the clients. Everyone in the organization shares that responsibility to know how to sell.
Every morning must have been kind of tough, knowing that I'm not on the right path here.
Kind of tough. Yeah, it can be kind of tough when you work for the company, and you've got to represent what the goals and the initiatives are for the company. Yet you can see, boy, there's an opportunity here that is not as strong. So it becomes up to us, and as representatives of the brand of those relationships, to share that, and
Hmm.
to try to focus on the benefits of those, and to share and again, I found myself at odds in somebody of being too customer centric, if you will,
Yeah.
versus corporate centric. And that was a tough place in my career, in my um, work history there, to be in that kind of awkward position.
Yeah, you were focused on two different things. That doesn't mean the other one is on the wrong thing. It just means
Right.
you're looking at it two different ways. What did
Right.
you try to do about it? Because I'm sure you didn't wake up one morning and say, "Well, it's not going to work for me. I'll go join Mike and the team at Sandler."
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
try to do to fix that, to make
Yeah.
it good for you and good for them in that structure?
Yeah, I think at that point, for me, you have to stay true to who you are, and what you feel like is important. There's values there that win out the day. Is one of our sayings at Goodyear that has stuck with the company forever was protect our good name, and I still believe that's one of the key motivators for associates that work for the company today, as it was almost 100 years ago. Is kind of protect our good name, represent that in the marketplace. So you're always trying to share, okay, this is the reality, this is the truth, this is where we're going, this is the why behind what we're doing. And it might be different than what we've done in the past, but the markets are changing, customers are changing, it might look different, it might feel different, but you have to try to communicate, okay, here's the strategy behind it, here's the
Yeah.
long-term goal. Even um, in some cases where you felt like, boy, I'm not 100% sure this is what's best for this customer.
Mm-hmm.
In the short run, there's certainly in cases where you have to look at the bigger picture, step back from it, look at the bigger picture. At the same time, not be artificial. You have to be who you are, right? You have to be who you are, and because you can say something and not mean it, and people know it. So you have to be sincere
Quickly.
and honest, and protect those relationships that are built on that integrity.
And I'm interested. You said you were retired from
Mhm.
there, and I don't pretend to know your age,
Yeah.
but I can picture you in your desk.
Mhm.
And was there ever a point where you're like, you know what, Doug,
Yeah.
just ride this thing out. You're not
Oh,
going to beat them.
yeah.
Let's just ride this thing out and we'll go retire on a beach somewhere. I mean, was there ever a point that you wanted to give up a little bit on your purpose, give up on, succumb to the pressure and just throw in the towel?
I don't think so. There's certainly times when you might think, boy, is this, my wife might have said, boy, Doug, that's so much, you're carrying so much. I can see it in your eye. I can feel maybe the pressure or the stress sometimes, so others can see it. I don't know that I ever said, okay, I'm willing to give up or pack it in
Yeah.
or go play pickleball every day. I know
Yeah.
that wasn't necessarily, I wasn't ready for that, but it was, there's certainly, from a health standpoint, just from a healthy, um, healthy body, mind, spirit, right, it's not good, right? And at some point you have to stop and say, okay, is there a better path forward? I'm not ready to quit, but is there a better path forward
Yeah.
to deal with this?
Yeah, and you were able to find that better path. I think there's
Mhm.
probably people listening now. I know I had a couple of those thoughts. You get to be mid 50s and you're like,
Yeah,
I got a few years left. What am I going to do
yeah,
with these next few
yeah,
years? What am I going to do with these? And so I'm sure there's people listening right now that are sitting at their desk going, I'm too old to start something new.
yeah,
And yet
yeah,
you're kind of proof positive that
mhm,
you're not. Tell me a little bit about
yeah,
the pressures that you had to overcome either during the
mhm,
the change
mhm.
or once you got there. I mean, you're already familiar with the team a little bit,
Right.
but
Yeah.
you still had to start fresh. Tell me a little bit about that
Yeah. Thank you.
as a
Yeah.
seasoned veteran, shall we say.
You've hinted around at. I might as well come clean. I know I look older. I was 59 when I retired.
Okay.
I'm now 60, right? So it is like, okay, I'm not ready to get
You're
out
not
of the
ready to quit.
game.
Yeah,
I'm
you've got a
not
lot
quite
to
ready
give.
to jump out of the game, but I am, is this time to start something new? And the opportunity to do this was really a great challenge. Now, um, the pressure behind that is having two kids in college at the time,
Yes, sir.
and having going from having a, a salary and a benefit package and all that comes with being somebody that's in corporate America and has a great career with a great company, to, okay, you're you're a salesman that has to make your own way, kind of
Eat what
thing,
you
right?
kill, right? There's not
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of salary, at least, however
No,
it works. I mean,
it's not, unless you go out and develop business, and there's a tremendous amount of support and a tremendous amount of help to be a part of this team. But unless you're out making those business relationships and creating those relationships, there's no real compensation that comes with it,
no.
other than you feel good about what you're doing.
That's right.
Which there's something to be said for that, but it doesn't pay
Can't
the
pay the
college
bills with
bills, and
that.
it doesn't
Yeah.
help that. So, and again, one of the things that was a benefit to me, again, from my career at Goodyear, was I had those business relations. I had many
Mhm.
business relationships that gave me an entry into the right person. Didn't mean that all of a sudden this was the right fit for everybody, but it gave me the entry to the correct decision makers to at least have that conversation. Is
Yeah.
this something that could benefit your business? Is this something that can make a difference? I'm not saying it's, just because of our relationship that you should, but if it's something that it would be a good investment for your business, then does it make sense to have that conversation? So luckily for me, I was able to have those conversations. We all want it to come faster and more and quicker,
Yeah.
but
That's sales.
I think, yeah,
You just touched on something that I've always thought about. I don't think there's any profession anywhere,
Yeah.
maybe tightrope walking, where
Yeah.
people are more hard on themselves.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
salespeople just beat themselves up. They read every possible book. They
Yeah.
listen to the podcast. They
Mhm.
go home and say, "If I only made one more call."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough, and so you had to overcome and deal with this. I
Yeah.
have a quick question.
Yeah.
All your contacts. So for
Mhm.
a few years,
Yeah.
you were going through a little bit of a change where you
Yep.
weren't perhaps able to do things the way you wanted to do them.
Right.
Have you heard from any of your contacts that said, "Hey, wow, Doug, this is a new side of you that I hadn't seen," or
Oh,
something like that? Have they
yeah.
been able to see that in you?
Yeah, there was a tremendous amount of positive feedback that when I made the transition, when I retired, and then shortly after that, it was about 3 months later, then announced that I had joined as a partner here at the Ruby Group. I did get some really good positive feedback. Boy, that's a great fit for you. Oh boy, that's a natural for you. Um, I don't know. I didn't always see that, right? I wasn't the best public speaker, wasn't the best um, trainer, if you will, and
Mhm.
those things. But certainly, I got a lot of good feedback that others saw in me, maybe that I didn't see in myself. That was positive.
And so what does success look like for you now? What is and when you're putting your purpose in place, you look back on your career here at Sandler as you go through it. What is the thing that you really want to most accomplish and do well while you're at the Ruby Group?
Yeah, thank you. I would say the most thing is when is in the lessons learned, if you will, from a 35-year career of thinking this is what's most important, and realizing what was important was the relationships, the people that you mentored, that you grew, that you hired. I see some of those folks today still growing with the company and moving on to new roles and developing in those roles. And I'm so excited to see those people be successful and think I had played a small part in that success over the years that we worked together. Now I'm doing it full time. I'm doing that full time with people that I'm working with every day, and clients that are coming on board, and they're people, and I can see in many cases the differences it makes in their lives, not because of Doug, but is because they're feeding themselves. They're trying to to learn and to be better, and I can see, just like you started off with, see the impact that makes in them professionally and also personally in their personal lives, and being more successful in that. So truly, that's what success looks like to me now, is having the ability to do that and to see that change. Certainly, I need to sell more, and I need to go out and create more clients, and I'm hoping that we'll continue to do that, and I'm doing the behaviors that should make that happen. But the fulfillment that you get from doing it um, really generates the enthusiasm and the desire to move forward. Mike Jones, who is the owner of the franchise here, who you know well,
Mhm.
um, he's one of his advice that he gives us is focus on delivering the value, focus on delivering the return on investment for these clients, and focus on really giving them your best, and making sure that they're getting the most out of this, and the business will take care of itself.
Takes care
It'll
of
it'll
itself.
it'll come. That's right. So
Yeah, yeah, and boy, I tell you, the amount of different things that Mike has taught me,
yeah,
and I can almost hear him while you're saying, I can hear it coming out of
yeah,
his mouth. It's
yeah,
take care of your customers.
yeah,
Take care of them, and
yeah,
I added a little bit to that. Take care of them so well that they can't fire you.
yeah,
Yeah, just take care of the people that are working with you,
yeah,
and everything else takes care of itself.
yeah.
I want to talk about them in just a little bit. First,
Sure.
Doug, are there certain businesses that you do really well
Mm,
with,
mm,
or is it pretty much any business? And if so, how would they
mm.
reach out to you and contact you if you wanted to talk to you a little bit?
Yeah, it's what really works is what we find most success in. What I've found most success in is in that business to business environment where
Hmm.
you're a business selling to a business and trying to be that trusted advisor for a business. We do customer service training and customer retention training for that business to consumer type work. But some of the sweet spot that I've found, and maybe because it's my experience, is in that business to business environment where you've got a team of salespeople that are out responsible for prospecting, for driving new business, that you're worried about, maybe am I training them the right way? Am I able to hold them accountable to do the behaviors to be successful? And maybe they're worried about being commoditized in an environment where so many cases the products and the things that we sell are becoming a commodity, and our margins are getting shrunk. So in differentiating how we go to market and how we sell can make such a difference versus what we sell. And so that long-winded answer is, if there's a team of salespeople that are really in this business to business environment, seems to be the best fit of folks that I'm working with.
Yeah. And do you have some contact information that you'd like people to use if they wanted to reach out to you?
Yeah, it's quite easy. It's Doug.Whittington at Sandler.com is hopefully easy to remember. Doug.Whittington at Sandler.com is probably the easiest way to reach out and get. I'll give you my phone number. I'm not sure if anybody would remember it, but
we'll put it on the screen. Go ahead.
My name.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll put it on the screen.
Oh, it's 330-242-4070. That's my phone number, my personal cell. We call me anytime. And sometimes, clients just call me and say, "Hey, Doug, what about this? What would you do in this case? What are you thinking?" I love those conversations that we have with clients, even potential clients. In some cases, that could lead to further dialogue. But don't hesitate, even if it's, "Hey, Doug, give me your thoughts on this," and don't hesitate to make that call.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That happens in the show. People will listen. They say, "Man, that guy sounds like he's heard my story already. I want to talk to him." And I know you'd welcome that call because I know everything. I want to talk. So Doug, thank you for being on the show first. This has been fascinating. It's every one of my interviews with a Sandler partner runs a little long because I could just do this forever. I just love picking your brains and hearing about you. And I think it's because you're all really good people that really care about your business and about yourself, how you're portrayed, how you're seen, how you come across as a sales professional. And I will tell you, so in the podcast world, most of our audience is tuned out by now. Okay. Right. They watch for a little while and then they lose track and they go on somewhere else, or they get to where they're going or whatever it might be. So folks, if you're a business owner or business sales professional and you've stuck with it this far, I want to talk to you because you're obviously interested in something. And let me tell you something. If you like the way Doug comes across, very real, very caring, not salesy. Doug, you talked a little bit about the plaid suit sales guy. That's what these guys are all about. It's saying, I don't care if it's Mike Jones, it's Ken, it's Jordan, who we got, Robert, Jason, Mike down in Jacksonville. Every single one of these guys exudes the exact same, let me take care of you first, we'll worry about me later. And it's just the right way to do business, and every one of you does it. And if there's someone out there, if you're listening now and you've even thinking about calling these guys, calling Doug, you won't go wrong because he won't give you a sales pitch. They're going to help your business. If you end up paying him something someday, so be it. But I'm accurate on that, aren't I, Doug?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's it gets back to with Mike's advice. Let's take care of our clients and the business will come. Right.
Yeah. So. That's the right way to go. And I think folks that are out there, if you need to learn that for your sales team, you'll do yourself a favor and you'll reach out and talk to Doug Whittington or anybody at the Ruby Group. And you'll be happy that you did. Doug, thank you for being my guest on Purpose Under Pressure. It is brought to you by my friends at Sandler by the Ruby Group. Sellers are under pressure to perform. We talked about that in full here today. Sandler's going to help you to succeed on purpose. You'll find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure at bryanmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your favorite shows. We do this every week, and we'll see you next time on Purpose.